All right, I'm here with Mark Shuttleworth, who is the founder of Ubuntu and Canonical. Mark, how are you doing?
Great to be here in Round Rock.
So, tell us start off. What are some of the things you're up to with Dell these days? What are some of the areas that you're playing with?
Well, the most dramatic expansions have been on the client side, where the work that we've been doing around the Ubuntu desktop on different Dell machines has really started to scale out and scale up. That's now very international, with work going on in China and India, here in the States, Europe. So there's plenty for us to do there. And we're really starting to wrap our arms around the full complement of the hardware that Dell provides. So that's been a real stretch for us, and has resulted in a great deal of work, making Linux work, making X work, making the sound stack work, across the full range of Dell hardware. So it's been exciting, and definitely kept us busy.
So, speaking of your cloud stuff, it was in your last release, no, 2 releases ago, I think it was last April, that you first brought out the UEC, is that correct?
Yep, absolutely.
So how's that going? You explain what UEC is and how Eucalyptus fits in, etc.
Yeah, I think cloud computing is really starting to crystallize in people's minds as a new way of architecting their enterprise infrastructure. And there are definitely certain workloads, certain kinds of things that fit that cloud model better than others right now. And so there's still a lot of innovation and early prototyping going on. UEC is turning out to be a very popular platform for that prototyping, for people who want to build their own little EC2 effectively.
And for folks who don't know, UEC is?
UEC, the Ubuntu Enterprise Cloud.
Right.
It's a combination of Ubuntu and Eucalyptus and other components that gives you an EC2-like view of a whole bunch of virtual machines and storage and so on. And so companies are using it to prototype and pilot and start to build out their own production little clouds that they manage in the same way, and sometimes with the same tools that they manage infrastructure on EC2 from Amazon's web services.
Excellent. So now, one of the big things was, and I think it was maybe a couple months ago, time has a way of getting away from me, but that you passed the mantle of CEO on to Jane.
Well, the actual passing of the baton will happen on the 1st of March.
Oh, okay.
But Jane has been at Canonical from the very beginning. She and I have kind of shared the leadership load at various times. All of our senior commercial leads have reported either to Jane or to me, and we've rotated those around between us. So everyone who will be reporting to Jane is familiar with, they have good relationships. And Jane and I have a wonderful relationship, so this will free me up to do the stuff that I enjoy the most, which is either diving into the cloud or diving into the client. And we'll let Jane lead the commercial business units as they should be led, and so being led by a geek like me.
Yeah, so speaking of which, so she's got a big company background. Was it General Dynamics?
That's right. She worked for a company that was bought by General Dynamics, and we saved her from selling tanks and missiles and other things.
Excellent. Thank you for that. So now, Lucid Lynx is your next release, coming out April. Do I have that right?
That's exactly right. 10.04. The Lucid Lynx is going to be our LTS release. And so every 2 years we make a release which is designated LTS. We support that for much longer, especially on the server. It's a 5-year support window. And this one will have cloud as a very strong focus. A great deal of work gone into UEC. We believe that people will are sort of moving their pilots into production, and so it's very important, and it's good timing for us to have an LTS release now. There'll be some other exciting stuff on the client side as well. Some shiny new bling on the desktop. We'll have some new styling, which is going to be the starting point of sort of another 5-year view. We've been human for the last 5 years. Now we're going to be light oriented, and some great technology around making the desktop more social. So allowing people to tweet directly from the desktop and bringing Twitter straight into the desktop effectively. That's similar work for Facebook and other social applications. So very cool stuff.
And on the netbook side, how are things going there?
That actually remains very, very exciting. There was a lot of speculation about the death of the netbook, and we certainly haven't seen that. The other exciting thing that's happening, with Windows 7 being out there now, is that people again have a real choice between free software and proprietary software, and free software turns out to be a popular choice. So the share of Linux on netbooks seems to be growing again, which is great. Now that XP is getting downplayed. and we want to be right in the thick of that. I'm putting a lot of time into the Netbook Remix, the Ubuntu Netbook Remix. It will go through a period of rapid evolution during the next cycle. We want to keep things fairly stable for this cycle because 10.04 is an LTS, but there'll be some rapid evolution for that, and so who knows where that will go.
And then even smaller, Ubuntu Mobile.
So yes, we're seeing a great deal of adoption of Ubuntu on small devices. Now we haven't yet got down to phones, but people who are building sort of consumer electronics are more and more building on Ubuntu. It's there, they know it, it's free, and it works on a lot of the devices that they want to use. So we've seen some fantastic little devices that had Ubuntu at the heart, the little device. There was a box by D-Link which uses Box C as a sort of media center, and that's got Ubuntu at the heart of it. With our relationship with ARM, we're starting to see quite a lot of innovation around ARM in small form factors where you have very low energy requirements or very long battery life requirements, or you don't want to have any cooling associated with the CPU. So I think that's really exciting. And I think what we'll see is that the netbook interface. In the ARM world, they talk about smart books. We'll see that smart book interface effectively scaling down to device type form factors. That's going to be interesting.
And then just speaking of technology and zooming out, what's happening right now that excites you the most in the world of technology? I'm sure there's a whole bunch of different things.
Well, I continue to be just bowled over by the pace at which everything is getting more connected. And there are a bunch of things associated with that. The Moblin, Nokia, Migo announcement is really showing the importance of Linux in the device marketplace. Android is really interesting. Chrome is really interesting. I think all of those things are interesting. On the enterprise stuff, the cloud is really what's got me excited, just because it represents such a fresh approach to scaling. I think it's a little bit like the early 1990s when HTTP emerged. Who would have thought that HTTP, which is a slightly awkward sort of entrant to the world of network protocols, would become such a universal language for network services. It's taken 20 years, but effectively everything is getting mapped to HTTP, everything that talks over the network. And I think cloud is going to do the same thing. I think Amazon really put their finger on the button when they separated out compute and storage. And it's going to take 20 years, but fundamentally I think that is just a better way to think about technological capacity or computing and storage capacity. And so it's nice to be right in the thick of it.
Excellent. Mark Shuttleworth, a pleasure as always. Thanks so much.
Stay well. Great to see you again, Mark.